good to start.
Okay. So first up is the question about the location-independent movement.
Okay.
There's always been travelers. There's always been people who didn't fit into conventional life.
And you want me to look at you, right, the entire time?
Okay. This one. Yeah, this one. This Kirsty, yeah. So what do you think marks a difference in the location-independent movement away from the normal traveller and the lifestyle people have been living for years and years?
Right. So I think the difference between the location-independent movement now and what used to be just travelers, on the road and doing it kind of for experiences is that now we're kind of merging in making money on the road too. Because as you know, all of us have to do a job of some sort, whether it's freelancing, having a business. We have to kind of fund our trips these days. It's not about living out of small little Airbnbs or hostels or back in the day of backpacking. Like people actually want to have a good life on the road. And not everybody wants to be on the road all the time. So I started that way, for example, month to month was a different country and realized actually I hate it. The fact of like having to switch houses all the time. So I actually liked a place that I would be based out of. So Ubud is my base right now. It might not be forever. But I also like the flexibility of being able to leave and go to Vietnam or go to Thailand or go to Singapore whenever I need to. Because I think that is the point of us doing all this work and doing all the making of money is to kind of have experiences, in our lifestyles. And I think because we're living in a time and age where technology is very much a part of our lives, it's much more accessible now to be able to blend the two. Before it might be you might take a sabbatical from a job and take 6 months off, but go back again to the normal lifestyle. This is almost a new adaptation of a lifestyle of you get to create whatever environment that you think is conducive to your values and whatever things that you need in your life right now and choose the right location around the world that supports that. Some of it is due to like food, like you have certain dietary things. Like me, I love food. I can't live anywhere where I don't like the food that I eat. So I specifically pick places like that. Some people like a more, healthy lifestyle type of thing, or they like to surf, or they want to incorporate a lot of hobbies like dance into their day-to-day. They want to be, again, a part of a community, right? That is a normal day-to-day thing. So it's not this separation of like, here's the time that I go traveling, and then here's the time I go back to work, or here's the time where I get new hobbies. It's every day is this immersion of all of the things that you love to do. And I think that's what's interesting about, this movement of location independency is that it is so accessible because one of the biggest issues was that I couldn't make money before without being at a physical place, without being at a physical job. And now that's completely changed everything for all of us who dream to blend all this in.
And so that kind of makes me think of the values of people that live this lifestyle. It is very lifestyle driven, like design your own life, lifestyle design concepts. But I think about obviously freedom being a number one. People want the freedom to move even if they're not moving all the time. What are the other values that you think stand out in the location independent movement?
Yeah, I think the values that we all share as location independent, whatever you want to name it, remote workers, digital nomads, I call myself kind of like digital entrepreneur, even though I consider myself all of the other titles as well. I think the common value we share is, as you said, freedom, but in the definition that we want to define it. So for me, it's not even about freedom of location, actually. For me on a personal level, for example, is the freedom of expression. Freedom of actually saying the things that you want to say and being recognized for it, and not for it to be bounded by some sort of rule-based thing that we would have gotten, let's say, in our job description, because that's the brand of the company that you work for, and you can't kind of overstep that. Now that you create your own business or you're a freelancer, whatever it is that you're doing that allows you to have a bit more leeway in the way that you want to conduct your work, that's what I believe a lot of people share in that value too, to have that control, creative control, over the way that they express their work. And at the end of the day, it's about defining this whole definition of work. That is work the only thing that we can say it pays the bills, or it's the thing that I'm crafted to do because I'm trained to do it? Could it be more than that? Could it be more of that is a vehicle that we use to make change in the world? Whatever it is that you're wanting your life to be, work is always going to be a part of our lives. So why don't we look at it in a different manner of not just to make money, but actually to create change, to create transformations in the world, to other people, using our own way of expression in the way we want to do it. So, I think the freedom of expression is a huge thing that people are looking for that they couldn't do in a job that they were in because of legalities and red tape and, having to submit requests to do any sort of change. This has now changed, right? With us as business owners and digital nomads that can now define the way that we want to work.
And I mean, really, there is this question that I have often for people. It's like, okay, you're a genius, you're really smart, you're an entrepreneur, you
Right.
can do anything you want. Maybe you have some funds, so you have the abilities to do whatever you want. And you're doing drop shipping, you're doing these things that, like, not everybody cares. Do you think that the movement is predominated by people who do really care about combining positive impact, social or environmental, with money making?
Well, I think the movement is, as I said, it's different, defined for everybody else because the idea of freedom is so broad, right? Some people, it's literally just a freedom of choice to choose people they want to work with. Some people, it's just a freedom of actually being able to make money on their own and have control over how much money they make, and they find passion and meaning and purpose through other aspects of their lives. I'm someone that falls into the category of that I can't actually do work that I don't care about, that I don't see a ripple effect of how it changes another person, how it improves something in the world. I can't seem to kind of get myself up in the morning to do anything that isn't related to that, right? So in my opinion, there are people that are now free to do work that are more meaningful, which I think is a huge card to play in that movement. But definitely there are people that do drop shipping and e-commerce and things that might seem kind of unrelated to their skills and passions, but actually it does create some sort of light in the skills that they use. So for example, my boyfriend and we have the same values and we want to have the same types of lifestyles, but the way that we express our passion is different, right? I'm about working with humans and I have to have humans in front of me at all times. He's about actually just in a way, learning something new and being able to fend for himself and create success that wasn't taught to him in school. Like that gives him a sort of purpose, that my life is I get to create that now for myself. And then he finds other ways of purpose in other aspects of his life through travel and through friendships and family, right? So, it really depends on the person. It really depends on what their goals are for their life right now that can actually change. I know people, for example, started with an e-commerce business that got them the money that they needed to get started, and then actually started a new project that was something more closer to the heart, that funded now, so their e-commerce business funded the passion project. Or you can go the other way. You can do a passion project first, gain money that way, and then say, well, I want to make more money to fund the first project and take on an Amazon product and market that. So it really doesn't matter how you do it, as long as the movement itself is providing you that space to be able to use your skills in the highest capability. And everyone's skills are going to be different. Right? Some skills are really for what they've learned and they want to express that back into the world, but they don't really care about affecting a different life. It's affecting their life, and that's purposeful enough. And I think everyone's definition is going to be different.
So there's many different identities and people with different values within the movement. Can we talk a little bit about sense of identity and community? What types of people have you met that think, yeah, I don't need to be in one place. I don't need to be at home, wherever that is. I'm going to travel the world and make a living.
Yeah.
And the risk isn't an issue for me.
Right.
What kind of people do this?
Well, I think the people that are attracted to, a location-independent style of living, they're going to be people that are seeking out something that they couldn't get wherever they are. And a lot of people come from busy cities, right? London, Toronto, Vancouver, like places that were noisy. And it's kind of hard to find who you are in such a noise of people kind of doing the same thing, because you have to survive in that city. So you blend in with everybody else. And it's hard to find your personality and different ways of thinking when you've got kind of that similar background of people. And so people travel for that reason, right? To get new perspective, to learn new cultures, to learn about the world that they didn't know was possible because of where they were. But I think at the end of the day, we still crave human connection, right? So even when people travel for a long time, and I've been on the road for 3 years so far, and even though there's times that I want to be independent and be by myself, I always come back to a point where I want to call some sort of a place a base. People, familiar faces, familiar food, familiar culture, and Bali's been the one for me. And as much as we want to kind of get out of the box and challenge ourselves and go into places unknown, which is great, but eventually we always want to find our tribe. Eventually, whether it's on the road as we do this, we always want to find a partner in crime to do, all the backpacking stuff with, or whatever it is that you're doing. But we do crave community, and I think that's a huge part of the travel movement. It's like finding the right community to support your dreams, and it might be different people, doing different things that inspire you, and it might not be Bali for you, it might be somewhere else, and you kind of keep searching as you keep going, and you kind of have a global community as well, because now we have the internet, and you're still connected to a lot of people that you've met in the past in certain countries, and be able to connect again, right, using social media. So I think, yes, people do want to find who they are, but they sometimes find who they are from being with other people, because then different people can showcase back to them something they didn't know about themselves before. But people from back home maybe can see you in one perspective. They know you as this person, but then you go out in the world and they go, no, actually, this is really awesome about you, or you're really courageous here, and you wouldn't have heard it from your friends that you've known for 20 years. You would hear it from brand new people seeing you with fresh eyes, right? And you're also different when you're in a new place, because I think you tend to not be as fearful about showing sides of you that you felt maybe at one point you were going to be judged, or that this is a crazy idea, or whatever, irresponsibility when you do this sort of lifestyle, and all of a sudden people actually accept that. People are like, this is awesome, you should try that, and you should go for it. And you're like, should I? And you have a new sense of motivation, by just literally surrounding yourself with different people.
It's all about possibilities and potentials, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like suddenly...
It is, and I always say, like, you only know what you know, because you grew up in a particular culture, a particular community that also taught you the same rules, because that makes sense. Like, you got to go back into that world and make a living, or climb the corporate ladder, or graduate and do this and that. That's the rule. That's what everyone does. So until you find out differently, you're not going to know that's the thing for you. I'm not saying corporate is a bad thing at all. Some people are in great companies and they love what they do. But if you're not, then you have to find a different path. Right? And it might be going back to another job, but at least you know what focus of a job that would be for you, what path that would be for you. And maybe you didn't consider doing something more independently. And now you have this place to do it because everyone else is doing it. And so you, again, conform, but this time you're conforming to something a little bit newer, a little bit more adventurous, a little bit more curious, that can spark more creativity, I think.
And this wasn't one of my questions, but do you think that this movement poses a threat to corporate structure?
Well, it can, or corporate can actually adapt to this new way of working. Because at the end of the day, I don't think it's a surprise that we now know that happy people work better. Happy people are just better people, right? Whether it's in the corporate office or in real life. And happiness is something that, we've taken for granted for such a long time. I know in my parents' age, to them it's kind of like, well, nobody's happy. Like, so what's the problem? Like, there's no problem here. Like, there's nobody gets this sort of happiness until retirement or you hit the jackpot. It's kind of like, this is just how things are. And now, again, because of information, maybe the birth of the internet, social media, people are finding out, like, you don't have to live like this. Actually, there's another way. So that information is so much more reachable this way. So you don't have to meet someone by accident to find out. You can just literally Google, what should I do with my life? Or, where could I go that is not this hellhole? And something will pop up to lead you down this track of, like, maybe other people are doing other things in the world. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I want to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because like the corporate structures and ways of working have had to change because people expect a hell of a lot more from different scenarios.
Well, I think also, like, maybe they don't have to lose those employees. Like, some people think they want to be entrepreneurs, but actually what they just want is a better working environment.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to be a creator and a maker. Like, it's not for everybody. But they do want happiness, and I think that's just across the board, whether you're a creator and an entrepreneur or an employee. Doesn't matter. So what I have seen in a bit of a trend of what's, people have asked me, for example, like, how ironic this is, like, founders screw the cubicle speaking at a corporate retreat. Like, that's, it's just like completely ridiculous, because you would think that I would be inspiring them to quit their job, but actually the angle is to inspire the employers to provide a space that the location independent people already have. How can we incorporate that into the 9 to 5? Is it even 9 to 5? Right? Do you have to have an office with all these floors and pay all this money and rent and electricity and whatever to have a physical space? Could your employees actually be productive working on their own, being independent, being able to travel with the work as long as you guys can still communicate and do the work together. So that's been kind of coming up for me a lot lately, especially in Singapore and Japan, actually, where they're realizing that actually overworked employees are not productive. That it costs more to replace them. It costs more to bring their morale back up again. So now they're going, how can we catch up to this future of work, of happiness, independency, and creative expression? How does that work while still maintaining employment? And that will be very interesting if more companies adapt to that sort of thing. And there are some companies out there already doing that, but not many. It's very rare you'll find a company, because again, it's like we've only worked this way for so long, so to let go of control over, having to attend meetings or have minutes or whatever, they think that's what works, but actually maybe people get motivated by simply giving them space, giving them control, and giving them that responsibility to do it as however they like to do it, as long as it's produced at the end of the day. You do it your way.
Perfect. That was the stuff I was trying to get into. Yeah, that was perfect.
I am so sweaty right now.
I was just about to say, I'll get you some tissue. Hold on.
I know. The sun is right in my eye. Can't you Photoshop something? That doesn't help. Yeah, you gotta go like real tall. It's real high. It's like above that tree.
Shit.
I know.
I will be able to block it from you, but I'll have to be on you.
Well, why don't you just like beautify me, like with your app of sorts? Robin has this whatever filter thing that literally takes out sweat marks. Like sweat beads.
There's one that basically makes you look like completely smooth.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's expensive.
That's the one. Just get it from Robin. See if you can get it from him. I just talked to him actually. Yeah.
Where is he?
He's in Canada right now.
I messaged him on his birthday, but I haven't really spoken to him that much since he left.
Mm.
I miss it.
Yeah, it's quite bright. Oh, yeah, that might be all right.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
look at Kirsty, is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know what that looks like.
Ah, shit.
Yes, good idea.
It's definitely not my face anymore. Oh my God, there's so many ants.
Yeah, it's terrible around. Is this a scooter
Yes.
leg?
Mm-hmm.
We've
I
all
actually-
got the good old scooter legs, haven't we?
Well, I think that's kind of the what's the word?
the mark of.
Yeah, the mark of like, oh, you've done something.
That's actually quite good.
Really?
If you cover Lydia's whole face, you look here.